What's going on, fellow web developers? My name is Todo, and in today's video we're going to be looking into creating our to-do app or a task list revamped for 2021. So I've done these before, done them in Vue, React, and a bunch of other different programming languages, frameworks, libraries. But in this one, I want to do a new JavaScript, HTML, and CSS build of this, just to show you what I would do now compared to what I did obviously a few years ago. So hopefully this should give anyone who's new around here some sort of insight how to build a to-do list, and for anyone who's seen my previous ones, they can see the differences and how it's made differently or how I've made it differently. Now, the reason I really like to do task lists for teaching people how to code is because a task list covers so many different bases. You create with it, you read the items on screen, you can edit, and you can delete things. All four main components of the web and stuff like that, especially when you're doing blogs and stuff like that. It comes a really long way. And so basically this is what we're going to be doing. So as you can see here, we have this task list. It says subscribe to the channel. We can edit this and subscribe to my channel, Tyler Potts. And then we can do save, and there you go. That's now updated. We can like the video or else. Hit save, and there you go. You can see that's now done. It says also leave a comment below. Please, I need someone to talk to. And there you go. We now have that. Oh, and don't forget the bread. I got the bread, so we're going to delete this comment. And there you go. You can see how the task list works. It's really cool. We can add a new one. Let's say my new awesome task. Click add, and there you go. It's added to the bottom of the list. We could also flip this and add it to the beginning, but that's up to you how you want to do that. So for now, guys, let's go and create our task list in 2021. Okay guys, as you can see, I have this Visual Studio Code empty folder here. Now, if you don't have Visual Studio Code or a text editor, I really suggest going to download one, because using Notepad or something like that is not going to be so fun. So the first thing I do is we're going to create a new file, and we're going to call that index.html. We're then going to create one called main.css, and finally main.javascript or JS. And now if we go into our index and we can close this sidebar, going to zoom in one. What we're going to do is we're going to start up with our markup. Now in emits, I could just do this, and there we go. That's now written out the base. We could put here task list 2021. And then what we're going to do in the header, we're going to put in link main.css. So what we're doing here is we're linking our CSS files. So anything we write in here will apply styles to our body. Just so we actually have that all set and ready to go. We're then going to, inside of the body, what we want to do is we want to create a header. So we're going to have a header component. Now this is HTML5 semantics or tags. And here we're going to do a H1, and it's just going to say task list 2021. I'm then going to have a form, and this is how we're going to submit our new element. So it's not going to do anything like that. We're just going to give it an ID. We don't need an action, so what we're just going to say is new task form. So that's going to be our ID, so we can target it and style it. We're then going to have an input of type text, and it's going to have, it doesn't actually need a name. It does, however, need an ID. So let's go over here, let's drop this down, and also let's drop this down just so it's there. Oh, you know, I'll keep that, and I'll say placeholder as well. Cool, so in the ID, we're just going to say new task input, so we know that's the input field. And then inside the placeholder, we're going to say what's it say if then? What do you have planned? What do you have planned? Well, to be fair, the whole point of this is to plan. I don't know why we're asking that, but it's fine. Oh, we got it. There we go. So that is the first input field done. We're then going to need an input of type submit. Now this is how we're going to actually submit the form. We're going to need a button. We can also hit enter on the keyboard because it's within a form. So we're going to have type submit, and the value is going to be add task. We're then going to go under this and say ID, and we're going to say this one is new task submit. hit save. And now if we now need to, let's go see what this looks like. So let's go over here. Let's reveal in File Explorer, and how we open HTML files inside of our editor is if we could just drag it on like that, or you could double click it and it will also open it up as well. So that's now opened up on our right, so we can now close that folder. Also close that. So you can see here, this is what it looks like so far. It doesn't look that good, but we'll worry about styling later. So let's go under the header and let's create a main tag. Now inside the main, I want a section with the class of task list. And there you go. You can see we have now one with task list. We'll create H2. Oh, hello. We'll create H2 that says tasks. And then under here, we want a div with the ID of tasks. So this is where we're going to put all of our tasks. So the reason we gave this an ID is we're going to need the ID to target this in JavaScript to be able to add the class. So in here, we're going to have a task. So we're going to create a dummy item in here. So we're going to create class. We're then going to need content. And inside here, we're going to have an input field of type text. We also don't need name or ID for this one. We're just going to drop this down. And inside of here, I'm going to write type. Oh, type text already up there, so I need to break that down. There we go, just so it looks neater. And then we're going to have a class of text because we want this to be the text that's inside of the content. We're then going to have value, and we can say my shiny task. And then under here, we're going to add the read-only property, which means we can't actually edit this. So if we refresh, you can see here, it's here, but I can't edit if I'm trying to type and it's not doing anything. So here you can see this is everything on the page. We then need to go under content. We need to give in our actions, and our actions are basically going to be our buttons. So we're going to create a button, and we're just going to say dot edit. And then in here, we're just going to say edit. We're going to have a second button, and this is going to be called delete. And we're just going to say delete. There you go. Refresh, and you can see we got edit and delete. No, they didn't do anything yet, but we've got this all here. So this is looking good. Wait, it's not looking good. The structure, the skeleton is now in place. This is all the HTML we actually need. Although I am missing one crucial part, is our scripts tag. And we're going to hook up the main.js in our root folder here. So now we have this also linked. Anything we write in here, alert, hello. Save, and if I refresh on the right, you can see it goes hello before loading the rest of the page. So that's perfect. That's now done. We can delete that alert. So the next thing we want to do is go into our main.css. Now this is where we're going to style the actual website. In this video, we're going to be using CSS variables. If you don't know what CSS variables are, I suggest you Google it. It's so good. CSS Tricks has a great article on it. I'll try and remember to link it down below. Whoa, that's crazy. That's Copilot for you there, but we're going to ignore that right now. So I'm going to say -- dark. Now we're going to have a color called 374151. And then I'm going to have a darker, which is going to be, let's go here, say 1F 2937. We've got a few here, so please bear with me. Darkest, which is going to be hashtag 111827. We're going to have a light, which is going to be EEE. We're then going to have a pink. And this is going to be hashtag EC4899. And then we're going to have a purple, which is going to be a hashtag 8B5CF6. Oh, now don't worry if you have no idea what this is. These are just hex codes. These are how you color things. As you can see here, they show the colors next to them. And there we go. That should be all the colors we actually. Oh, we're actually missing gray. So we have light, but we need a grey as well, which is going to be 6B, 72, and 80. And there you go. So these are all the colours we're going to be using in this video. Now, to use a class, all we have to do is say var -- and then the names are such as dark. Now, the reason we use -- is just because it's how the syntax is. I don't know the actual explanation, but yeah, that's that. So inside of here, we do need box sizing border box, and we need margin 0. We're also going to say font family, and I'm going to set this to Fira Sans and Sans Serif. Now you can use whatever fonts you want. I just want to make it look a bit prettier. So there you go. That's already looking a lot better. We're then going to go into our body tag. So I'm going to say body, and we're going to give this a display of flex. We want to basically make sure everything looks good, but obviously we don't want it to sit next to each other. So we're going to have a flex column underneath. So we're going to say flex direction column, and now this should bring it next to each other. Perfect. We are then going to, so after we've got the body flex, we're then going to say min height 100 VH, which stands for viewport height, which means we're going to take up the whole page. And then we're going to say background dark. Perfectly. Now, if we refresh, you can see that looks better. We also just want to say color, and we're going to say white. Because we're using a dark background, we just want to make sure the text also matches the background. Just so we don't have to keep writing color white all the way through. We're then going to have the header. Now, inside the header, what I want to say is padding. And we're going to use 2 rem, 1 rem, which should hopefully bring that down. There you go. It looks pretty good. We're then going to say max width of 800 pixels. We'll say width 100% and margin 0 auto. So what that's going to do is just going to center it. So on bigger screens, you know, that's right. On bigger screens, you can see it stays center. And there you go. That's what the margin auto does. And the max width will make sure it never goes above 800 pixels in width. Okay, let's speed this up. Let's go to the header and the H1, where we're going to just say font size of 2.5 rem. We're also going to say font weight of 300. Margin 0. We don't actually need margin. Margin bottom we need. Bottom, and we're just going to say 1 rem. 1 rem. And I think we can go for color hyphen gray. Far hyphen gray. There we go. And don't forget the semicolon. And now let's refresh. And there you go. That's looking better already. We then want to go hashtag new task form. So let's scroll down just so we can see that a bit better. And in here, I just want to display flex. Hit save, refresh, and there you go. That's now moved it next to each other. And then after here, we want to go input and buttons. We want to style all our inputs and buttons. We just want to say appearance, none. We want to say border, none. Outline, none. And also background, none. Now, the reason we do this is just to make sure everything has no styling. So it's just plain styled like this. Means we can edit all ourselves. So down here, we're just going to say hashtag new task input. And then we're going to give this the flex of 110%, which should hopefully push it all the way across. Yes, it does. And then under there, we're going to say background color. And we're just going to go for the far, and we're going to go darker. No, dark. Maybe darker, I think, is the one we want to go for. We're then going to say padding of 1 rem. Border radius, we're going to say 1 rem. And then margin right is going to be 1 rem as well. So hit save. Let's see what that does. There we go. That's looking nice already. We're then going to go into our color and give it the far off light. There's going to be a gray. We're then going to give a font size here, and we'll say 1.25 rem, just to make sure it looks a bit bigger. And there you go. That's all styled up. Now let's style up this button on the right side here. So we've just got to go... Oh, actually saying that, I've just noticed the color in our placeholder isn't right. So let's copy this, paste that there, and go placeholder. And we'll just say color, far, and we'll say gray. Save. And there you go. That looks a lot better. It matches the color scheme now. So let's do our task, our submit button now. So we're going to say new task submit. And we're just going to say color, far, pink. So we're going to give it the pink color. So it might look a bit weird for now. But we're going to add a background gradient. Well, we're going to have a gradient to this. So we're going to say font size 1.25 rem, just like the actual button above. We will then say font weight 700 because we want it to be bold. We're then going to give it a background image, and we're going to say linear gradient to right. We're going to say far pink and far purple, just like that. Now, if we refresh, you can see that looks really ugly. So we're going to need to fix that. Now, to fix that, what we want to do is say WebKit hyphen background clip, and we're going to say text. We're then going to go under here, and we're going to say WebKit hyphen text fill color transparent, and as we refresh and click, you can see it's now applied the gradient to the text instead. We also want to give it the cursor of pointer, and we would also like to add the transition of 0.4 seconds, because we're going to say hashtag new task submit hover. So on hover, we're going to say opacity 0.8, and then we're going to go hashtag new task submit. On active, we're going to say opacity 0.6. Hit save, and now if we refresh and we hover over, you can see that, and if we click it, you can see it goes down even further in opacity, just to make it look like something's happening. Gives your user some nice experience. We're then going to go under here and get the main, and we're just going to do the same as we did before. Flex one, literally just like that. It already knew what we wanted to write. So we want the container back for this. So now that's all contained as well. We can then go under here and just say .task list, and we will say padding 1 rem. Save that, and that should now bring it in a bit nicer. We're then going to go .task list and h2. I also noticed that I've gave this padding, but that doesn't need padding. The tasks actually have padding, so that should be fine. Task 2 h2, we'll just say font size 1.5. It's going to be the same as the one above, just smaller. So that should look a lot better. We're then going to say hashtag tasks.task, and we're going to style the actual task. We're going to display this as flex. Once we've got that as flex, we'll just say justify content, and we will say, let's scroll this up so we can see a bit better. Justify content, and we'll say space between to push the space away from each other. So let's just refresh. There you go. That's already looking better. We don't need a line item for this one, but we are going to say background color, and we will give this the far off darkest. Almost nailed it. There we go. And there you go. That's looking good. We will also add a padding of 1 rem because it has no padding. We need to add a background, or no, border radius of 1 rem. We'll then say margin bottom, and we'll also give it 1 rem. So let's refresh, and there you go. That's looking good, but I mean the colors are slightly off. So let's go into hashtag task.task.content, and let's just give it the color of white. Hopefully that should affect all. It did not. That's fine. We need to actually go to the text button. I actually forgot about the text. So we need to go into .text and then say color, and we'll give it the far light. We'll then say font size 1.125 rem, which is 18 pixels at 16 pixels font size. And then we'll give it a width of 100%, a display of block, and a transition of 0.4 seconds. Now, the reason we're doing that is because we'll use some fancy code in a moment to actually change this up. So if we go in here, we're going to do something called not, and we're going to say if it's not read only, we're going to say color far pink. So you can see here it's currently white, right? So if we refresh, it's just white. If we go here and we remove the read only from this, hit save and refresh, you can see it's now pink, which is perfect. That's going to give us an indicator to say we've now moved it from read only. We want to actually do something else. So that's a good indicator of actually if everything's working. Now, once we're in here, we're going to say hashtag tasks.task.actions, and we just want to display this as flex. We're then going to say margin 0 minus 0.5 rem. This is going to pull everything back, but then once we go .task.actions button, we can then say cursor pointer. That's one of the big ones. Don't forget to make it a pointer. We'll say margin 0.5 rem to push it out. So that should look better now. And then inside here, we can say font size is going to be 1.125 rem. We will have the font weight of 700. We can also have text transform of uppercase. And finally, a transition of 0.4. And what we're going to do is we're going to go up here and we're going to copy the opacity tasks. And we're going to swap this out for the button. So we're just going to go remove that. That's going to be the button and button. So now if we refresh, you can see if you hover, it kind of fades. You can't really see it because it's on a black background. But under here, we'll say task.actions.edit. So now we're going to get the actual edit button and we're going to say color far. We're actually going to go up here and steal the linear gradient, this right here, because we want the background to match the same as that. So it's kind of like a little edit. There you go. You can see the fade effect happening now. And finally, we just want to get delete. And we're going to give this the color of crimson because I think that looks a pretty good color. And there you go. You can see there it's all styled up and it's looking good. So if we go back to HTML and we duplicate the task, let's just copy this task, paste it underneath, hit save and refresh. You can see that's how it look when there's multiple. So what we're going to do is we're going to delete this, and I'm also going to delete this, well, or we can comment out so we just don't see it. And there we go. That's what it's going to look like with nothing on it. So now we need to go to JavaScript, and inside of JavaScript is where we're going to actually start creating the elements. So we're going to do something called window.addEventListener, and we're going to wait for the page to load. Then once the whole page is loaded, what we're going to do is we're going to say const get the form. So we're going to get the form we added to the page, and we could do query selector form, but instead we're going to use the ID we gave it, which is new task form. So we're just going to go hashtag new task form. We're then going to go in there and say const input is equal to document dot query selector, and there you go. That's already knew what we wanted. We finally want our list element, and that should be a constant. And we're going to set that to equal document.task list. We're actually going to change this to tasks, because that should hopefully be what we ID'd it. It is. It's tasks. Perfect. So now we've got our three elements. If we go in here and we just say log, let's just log the form. Now, if I just press F12 on my keyboard, you can see it's bringing up. So as we refresh, you can see we get this form element logged. So we've got that information. It's all there. That means these are working, and it seems to be working well. Now, inside of here, we're going to do a form.addEventListener submit form. So now when we submit the form, we're going to say e.prevent default. Now this stops it from refreshing the page. So when you submit a form normally in HTML, what it will do is it will refresh your page to try and submit the form on a different page or on the same page or whatever you need to submit the form. However, this is going to cause, this will obviously, it's not going to work if you keep refreshing your page. So to stop that, we do e.prevent default. And now if we go in here and we try and submit, or we've got to refresh, we try and submit, you can see nothing actually happens. But we can go in here and just say log submit form, save, refresh, hit add task, and you can see it says submit form, which is perfect. Now we want to quickly, before we do anything, we want to say if value, or if input, we can actually get the task. So we're going to say const task is equal to input.value. We're going to say if task, or if not task, we're going to say alert, please add a task, please fill out the task. Else log success. So there we go. So what we're doing here is we're just testing. So if we have nothing in it and we click add task, we say please fill out the task. And if we say test and add task, you can see it says success. That means it worked. That means there's something in there. Now we don't actually need to do anything there. We could just go into here. Oh, and once that happens, we just want to return because we don't want anything else to happen. So there we go. So that's going to bring us out of this function and basically alert us to say, hey, we need to fill this in if we want to use it. Now, what we want here is we want task element. So we're going to get the actual task element, and we're going to set this to equal to document.create element. Now, what create element does is it allows us to create DOM nodes, which we can place onto the page. So for example, we're going to say diff. So we're going to create a diff element, and we're going to give that a class. So we're going to say class list.add task, which is perfect. We're then going to go under here and say task content L is equal to document.create element and we're going to say diff again. So we're just going to create a bunch of diffs. We're then going to go task content_l.classList.add the class of content. There we go. We will then say task l.append_child, and we're going to append task content element. And then if we go to our list element, so list l.append_child, and we can append the task L, and inside of task L, if we just go here, task content L.inner text is equal to our task. So that's just going to set the inner value to our task. Now I just wanted to do this so I could show you what happens. So now if we come over here and we refresh and we say test, we add, you can see it actually adds it in here and it looks correct other than it's missing some buttons. So that all works. Obviously we could do a bunch of different things in here and there's a few things we're going to have to work out. But for now, let's just delete this. Actually, we could leave it in there. We'll work between. So after the append child, we want to say const task input L, and this is going to be equal to a document.create element, and this is going to be an input. We're then going to say task L input L dot type is going to be equal to text. We're also going to go in between here and just say task input L dot class list. No, not class name, class list. Dot add, and we're going to add the class of, I think it's text, is it? Let me just double check, I forgot. It is text. That is correct. So we're going to add the class of text. And then under here we'll say task.input.value is equal to the task we write in here. Then finally we'll say task input L dot set attribute. So we're actually going to set the attribute of read only. Now let's see what happens here. So we need to actually go down here and we need to say task content L dot append child and the input. We can also do this after here just because that, you know, it doesn't matter where it goes. It can go there. Let's just leave it there. Now if we say test and we hit add, you can see we get 2. I think that's because I'm actually adding the text into the actual elements. Let's remove the text from up there. We just need the actual diff here. So let's refresh and let's just go test. And you can see we've got the element here. If we inspect this, you can see in the HTML, if it'll show me. You're going to show us the HTML. There you go. You can see we have the actual test input here at read only, meaning we can't actually edit it, which is perfect. Let's bring this down and go back to the console. Close that console. Bring it down. Oh, console, and bring that down. There we go. So we've got that. So that's all working. We now need to actually get the buttons in. So after the content L, we're going to create a new one called const task actions L is equal to document dot create element, and this is going to be another diff, and then we'll say task add class actions, and then we'll go const task edit element is equal to a button. Let's just scroll this up and we'll add the class of edit, and that's good. We'll then go task delete element is equal to a button, add delete. Oh, and we want to set the inner HTML here too to be edit and the inner HTML here to be delete. Perfect. Now we want to append the child to the task actions element, and then we want to append the actions element to our task element. And then we want to append the task element to the list element, which will apply it to our page. We then, before we go through, we want to say input.value is equal to nothing. And that way it will stop us from actually having any issues here. So let's just go in here. Let's refresh the page and let's just say, hello world, add task. And you can see it's right here. Now, if we click this or click delete, it does nothing, but we can add as many as we want. We could go konnichiwa, and there you go. That is now placed in. I don't know any other greetings. Bonjour. There we go. Well, I'm out of this is my full vocabulary here. That's all I've got. But now let's create the edit button and the delete button. So these are quite simple. So inside of our, here we're going to go task edit element is equal to add event listener, click. We're then going to remove the read only attribute so we can now edit this text. We're going to say task input element is focus, so it's going to instantly focus it so we don't have to click there. It will automatically put our cursor where it needs to be. But actually, before we do this, oh no, sorry, we also want to go task edit L dot class or dot inner text is equal to save. So we're going to actually check if we're going to swap it over to save. Now if we refresh here and we add a new task and we click edit, you can see it swaps to save and we can now add stuff in there, but the save does nothing. So how we're going to fix that is we're going to highlight all this. We're going to close it. We're going to say if, and we're going to say task edit L dot inner text is equal to edit, and we need to say dot to lowercase because we want it all to match. So if it actually equals edit, we're going to paste this back in, and there you go. But then we're going to say else, we're just going to log save. So let's just refresh. Let's just say test, add task. Let's edit, say test2 and click save. And you can see it says save, which is good. That means it's working. So now what we want to do in here, we want to actually basically go task input L.set attribute read only because we want it to be back to normal. We then want to set the inner element to be edit, and that is it. That's all we need to do for the edit button. So let's refresh. That's not refreshing. That was creating a new tab. We're going to say subscribe. Hit add task, and you can see it says subscribe, but I just realized I wanted it to say don't forget to like the video. Hit save. And there you go. Obviously, that's going off screen. You can slide it back and forth, which is nice. But obviously, on a bigger screen, that will be fully there. No, it will not. So how do we fix that? Let's have a look. Let's inspect it. And we have the width for L. I think we need a flex 110%. Interesting. Oh, it's the content that is not flexing all the way across. So what we need to do is we need to go to content and add flex 110%, and there you go, that's fixed it. So let's go to our content quickly. Let's shrink this down as well. So in our main CSS, we need to go all the way up to our task content and say flex 110%, and that should now fix our issue. So let's just say this is a slightly longer text, add task. And there you go, but it's no longer being cut off, which is nice. And we can edit it to be even longer. Obviously, if you get too long, then there's nothing you can actually do about it going off screen. You could get it to drop underneath, but then you need to use a text area or something else instead of this, which is still doable, but here we go. So this is that. So there we go. We can leave that there now. Now, how do we delete it? Because this is, we don't want this anymore. So inside of our main, we're going to create a new one called task delete event listener. And we can do that. That's a really interesting way of doing it. But for now, we're just going to do this. We're going to say, oh, I accidentally opened the sidebar. It's very confused there. And we're going to say task L dot remove, oh no, list L dot remove child task L, just like that. Now, hopefully, if we refresh and we go test, add task, and I click delete, you can see that now gets deleted from our page. Add, we can edit it and we can say tester, save, and then we could delete it if we wanted to. We could add a bunch of these. These are really interesting tasks. And then we can edit one, say that it needs to be longer. Oh, I deleted it. We can edit one and make it need longer. We can edit this one and make it longer. Or we can edit this one and make it shorter. And save, and there you go. That's now all working, and we can delete the ones we don't want, and that is our task list essentially done, guys. So you can see that's quite a comprehensive little bit. The biggest part of it is probably the CSS. CSS always takes up the most time, and then the main JavaScript is only 67 long. We forgot some semicolons. Doesn't matter, but I like to make them in there just to prove a point. And there you go, about 67. But if you remove the white space, you're probably looking at about 50 lines of code. which is nice. So that's straightforward and simple. Now guys, we don't save this. So if we said test, add, test2, add, and we refresh the page, you could see it all completely goes. It just disappears. Now that's your homework. I want you to go ahead, take what we've built here. This, you'll get a GitHub link in the description if you just want to continue straight from where we are, or if you followed along, great, that's a great job. And what I want you to do is basically make it so when you save and you refresh the page, they stay there or they reload back in. Now here's a tip. What you should use is the Windows or the browser's local histories or local storage, I'll say. So you go local storage, you can see that's here. And what I want you to do is set the items. You could have a list of items in there. Now I'm not going to tell you how to use that just yet. And then in a week from now, I'm hoping to create another video on how we can add local storage to this. So if you're interested in that, then obviously don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to this video. But guys, that's your homework. I want you to be able to save it so when you refresh, they still appear there. So Windows storage, cookies, however you want to do it. You want to create a whole server, go for it. That'd be super awesome. And then give me a tweet at Tyler Potts, Tyler_Potts_ on Twitter, and I will try and reply to you as quick as I can with telling you how awesome you have done. And yeah, so that's how you create a task list in 2021, guys. This is how I create a task list with just vanilla JavaScript. So guys, if you liked it, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and also do not forget to leave a comment, say hello, just give me some feedback. Would you have done something different? Would you do something better? I bet you could. I bet you could do this way better. Tell me, show me, explain to me in the comment section what you would do different, or just tell me that you liked it and it was helpful. Every little helps. But guys, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a thumbs up, smash the subscribe button, and leave a comment in the section below. Peace out.